In this session, we're going to walk through the creation of an enrollment policy and the enrollment of an iPad. So let's go to the policy menu in the admin console. We want to create a new policy, so let's click on New, select the type of policy, which is enrollment, and the platform, which is iOS. Good practice when you're creating policies is to prefix the type of policy in the name, so enroll, config, and so on. Now let's click on Add Code. Some defaults here. Is it by default published or unpublished? Is this code only available through the self-service portal or direct through the client as well? We want that, so we'll say no. And do we want to use tinyURL or Google? In this case, I'm going to select the default. I'm going to select Save. Another piece of good practice here is that you can put the enrollment code within the notes section. This is useful for when you want to perform testing and go back into the list of policies without having to drill into the actual policy to get the enrollment code. In general, some options here: automatically approve, yes, no. Think about this being valid for additional workflow where a device enrolls and you want to go through some form of workflow around a business process of approval. Access control: this allows us to control the device accessing email through ISAPI filters. So for example, they can only get their Exchange email if the MDM client is installed and the device is encrypted. We're going to use a default policy which is based on the server config in this instance. Under automatic naming, you can pretty much guess here that we can change the name of the device when it registers, or we can just accept the default. The default is probably useful for a bring your own device in scenario. Self-service portal, if we want to apply a different title and so forth to the URL or the web page, we can do that there. The group section, this allows us to just automatically associate any device that enrolls with this policy to a particular group. In this case, I'll select VIP iOS. On the variable section, what we can do here is we can basically ask the enrollment policy to collect a series of variables. In this case, I want to collect a username, but what I can also do here is if I select username as the variable, I can actually change what appears in the device prompt. So in this case, I want to call it Exchange User. Click on Save. I don't need that to be masked. I want to add another variable now, which would be Exchange Password. And I'll leave the device prompt as the same. You can see it's masked, so you won't see that entry, and I'll click on Save. So now I'm going to click on Save after confirming my entries. And there is our policy, Enroll Demo. So let's switch to the iPad. So this is a pretty standard iPad in a BYOD environment. What I'm going to do is navigate to the self-service portal, which I could have supplied to the end user out of bound via email or so forth. So in this case, I'm entering my server address. I'm entering the self-service portal, virtual directory. Key thing here is I'm putting an I. That I indicates iOS. It would be A for Android. But what I need here is that enrollment code. And this is a good example. So let's say I've forgotten it. This is just from a testing perspective. Because it's in my notes, I don't have to drill in. I can just see it and copy that into the device. Okay, first step, let's click on Enroll New Device, and let's see how simple this process is. Okay, so step one, even as a user who may not have much exposure to the application, I'm going to click on Install. It's going to prompt me to install the application and pull that down from my server or potentially from the App Store, depending on my configuration. Okay, so the app's now deployed. You can see I've got my own email, so personal email, but no corporate email. So now step two, click on Activate Enrollment Code. Now this enrollment code, you can see it's actually made up of the actual enrollment code, but up front it also has reference to my user. Now it's asking me if it wants to allow me to do location tracking. I want to do that. I have a choice, but I want to do it because if I lose this device, the solution is going to help me with that. So all I need to do is say, click on OK. And here's the prompts that we set up in the enrollment policy: exchange user and exchange password. I'm just going to use dummy credentials here. Click on Done. And what I'm going to see is a series of screens flash by as the profiles are deployed on the device. So I'm just going to select Install. And this is just the standard user code that this iPad already had. We see the Microsoft Simple Certificate Enrollment Protocol taking place to secure the communication and the relationship between the two. Just select this message that I'm okay with that my device will have some management profile and policies applied to it. And then we're done. And then I'm returned to the self-service portal as you saw in the slides previous to this. What you can see being pushed down now is some web clips and then mandatory applications. And we'll cover applications in a later session. But this device has already started to be provisioned. So let's see it appearing in the admin console under devices. And there it is, VIP iPad 2. And you can see the connection time is pretty close to the server. That connection time is taken off the device itself. But let's click on Inspector. We can see we've got data in here. We've got some inventory information. So this is looking like it's registered as expected, which is great. You can also see some of the data on the connection log, so you could follow this through if you were interested. But the big test would be to send a lock to that device. So let's see that happening. And there you go, the device locked. So I've confirmed that I have MDM control of that device.